Hi, everyone, and welcome to How Did They Do That Live November edition. The topic on file today is student choice and voice, and we actually have a lot of different presenters, so you'll have a lot of choice in the different lessons you take away from this presentation today. Just a quick reminder of our virtual PD norms here as we get in and get going. We just ask that you register for these events in the PD catalog prior to the day of training, so you get that Teams link in the morning. This Teams link happens to be a live event, which is kind of a special type of meeting, which means as the audience, you'll notice you don't have your access to your camera or your microphone or the chat. However, there is a Q&A section up at the top there for you. You can go into Q&A and post Q&A questions. Those will remain private unless a member of my team should choose to publish them with the answer. So you might get a private reply to those or a public reply that everybody can see, but it is just a little bit more structured than a chat. But definitely feel free to pop in, use those questions if you need to. And is it just me or is my webcam a little bit blurry? Might just be me. We do ask that you participate on your device, not on a phone, and you are engaged throughout the entire presentation. Because this is a live event, again, there is going to be a special attendance link at the end, so please make sure you also fill out that attendance link at the end. I'll go over that again. And then just to hit on our ISTE standard here, we always try to align our How Do They Do That lives to ISTE standards. And the theme for November is Innovative Designer, which basically allows your students the opportunity to show you all the innovative ways they can design their different content and homework. So the text here for Innovative Designer is students will use a variety of technologies within a design process to identify and solve problems by creating new, useful, or imaginative solutions. So some great apps for this might be things like Canva, some of the different things you're going to see here in Microsoft today. Performance Matters has great resources for you as the instructor to help provide additional opportunities for your students. So I just want to kind of touch on that standard for our students so you can see how you can support them in their innovative design. All right, we have a lot of great content today, so I don't want to spend too much time talking to you guys. This is our agenda for the next 55 minutes or so we're going to spend together. First, we're going to hear from Ann Bonilla in the assessment department, and she's going to talk about performance matters and how to use that performance matters data to drive decision making in your classroom. And then we have a guest presenter today I'm really excited to introduce. We'll have Microsoft with us. We'll have Matt Douglas from Microsoft, and he'll talk about the immersive reader tool, as well as some additional tools that your students have access to in their Chromebooks so that they can further support their learning. From there, we'll hear from Angela Gama, who is in the EdTech department with me, and she'll talk about Schoology and individually assigning work so you can start to scaffold work out for your students. And then we have a little bit of a swap and presenter. We'll hear about student choice boards with Matthew Ketchum. It'll be a little bit of a promo or a teaser for a future training that we'll have later in November. So lots of great content. Again, I don't want to tack it too long. Just remember to circle back at the end. I will be circling back for that attendance link. So make sure you stay till the end so you can get that attendance link and get credit for this hour. All right, without further ado, Ann, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you.
Okay, well, thank you and welcome everyone. I'm actually going to be talking today about performance matters, but I'm going to talk to you about how you can share your data with your students. So how the students can actually access data from the student portal. I know a lot of you have done data dives with your PLC and your coaches, and you've looked at student item analysis and you've looked at baseball card reports, but you probably don't know that you can actually sit in the classroom and say, hey students, how did you do on this assessment? Let's take a look. And it's really helpful because, you know, students often, if they don't know where they're going, if they don't have a goal, how are we going to drive them? So we're going to talk today about driving our students towards their goals. So let me share my screen with you. All right. So not only can they see benchmark results from tests that they've taken in Performance Matters or in Schoology, but they can also take Schoology quizzes that you might have already built from years ago, and that data is also in Performance Matters. They can see their grades, they can see their test scores, and they can see their attendance. So like I said, If you're driving through town and you've got a goal, Waze can't give you any instructions unless you tell it where you're starting from. How are we supposed to know where we're headed if we don't even know where we're starting? So you can help your students set goals by guiding them through the Performance Matters in their student portal. And the first step is the students would log on in their MCS app portal and they would launch the Performance Matters app, just like you do. The students are going to see a student detail page. This has their schedule, their attendance, their discipline information, and if they're in grades 7 through 12, it will have their grade information off to the right. Students can also see their test results by clicking on the different tabs. So you can see we started in our Student Detail tab. If we click on the Common Test Results tab, you will see tests that were created in Performance Matters and given in Schoology. If you select the additional results, you'll see tests that were created in Schoology and given in Schoology. You can also see LPAC scores and other state scores and discuss those with your students as well. That is what I've got for you for today.
That was short and sweet. Thank you, Anne, so
You're welcome.
much. And with all of that, we'll go ahead and turn it over to Microsoft. And Matt, I know you're from Microsoft with us today. You have a little bit of extra time if you have extra stuff you'd like to show. If not, we are always happy to show stuff too.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I will go ahead and share my screen here. So pardon me just a moment while I get that set up. But really happy to be here today. Thanks for having us. I'll go through a brief session on some of the different Microsoft learning tools that we have available with a focus on stuff that's going to be accessible to students through their Chromebooks. A lot of the features that I'll showcase are available regardless of platform. So my name's Matt. I'm the one that'll be presenting. I also have my colleague Joyce here. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the Q&A and she'll do her best to answer those. And I'll hang around a little bit at the end too in case there's any questions after my session's over. I'm going to focus on the immersive reader and show you where we can access that. I'll provide a brief demonstration and then go through a few of the different places we can access immersive reader in Microsoft 365. And then I'm going to spend a bit of time looking at Word Online to show you how we can use editor and dictate to strengthen our writing skills. So Immersive Reader is a reading decoding tool that helps improve reading comprehension by increasing fluency for English language learners or readers of other languages. It can offer text decoding solutions for students with learning differences such as dyslexia. It helps to build confidence for emerging readers as well that might be trying to learn to read at higher levels. And it provides a robust translation tool as well. We have support for over 60 different languages with Immersive Reader, and I'm really looking forward to showing how that works. Time permitting, I'm going to showcase editor and dictation in full. Dictation, we've made great strides in improving the accuracy and have multi-language support. So I'll go through a brief demonstration of what dictation looks like. And then I also want to showcase Microsoft Editor. It's not just the Word desktop application now. We've got that available in Word Online. Think of it as a next generation spell check. So it'll look for things like brevity and conciseness, formality of language, and inclusive language as well to make sure that we're bringing out our best writer. I'll go ahead and end our slides here so we can dive into a demonstration. First thing I'm going to do is let's pop over to Teams. I want to showcase the Immersive Reader, and Immersive Reader is available just about everywhere within Microsoft 365. So I'll demonstrate it in OneNote here, but then after I'm done with the demonstration, show you a few of the other programs and where we can find it. I'm here in OneNote in the View tab, and I have Immersive Reader available in our ribbon. So I've got some text here, just a sample physical geography page. We've got some navigation here on the side. You know, if we're looking at it within Teams, we'll have the Teams client here. But even if I just had the OneNote application open, of course, you've got your different notebooks and different sections there. When we open up Immersive Reader, What it does is it eliminates all the navigation and any other potential distractions. I'll go ahead and make it full screen so we can see it a bit easier. And what it does is it allows us to manipulate the appearance of the text to make it a bit more easy to read. So I'll walk through the features from left to right, starting at the bottom. The first feature that we have here is a narrator. So I'll go ahead and hit play.
The study of Earth's landforms is called physical geography.
Now you'll notice that's reading pretty quickly, but if I come over here to voice settings to the right of the play button, I have the ability to adjust the speed at which the narrator is reading this aloud. So this student benefits from learning at a 1.25 times speed. Maybe it helps them focus a little bit easier on the material, but maybe some other students might benefit from a reduced reading speed. We can go to half speed and I'll play what that sounds like.
Geography. Landforms can be mountains and
So this could potentially help with pronunciation of words or even just helping students learn or read at a pace they're more comfortable with. We can also choose between a female and male voice and still adjust the speed. It goes down to half speed and up to 2.5 times speed. Over here on the right side, we've got 3 different icons there. The first here is the text preferences. So that's the 2 A's there. Apologies, that's cut off a little bit there. But I'll go ahead and bring that over here. This is our text preferences pane, and it allows us to adjust the appearance of some of the text that we have on screen. I've got a slider that allows me to adjust the size of this text here. And then I also have this increase spacing toggle. I'm going to briefly turn it off here. I'm actually going to turn off quite a few of the options we have here so we can see them in action. So let me come back here. We've got the increased spacing disabled currently, and I'll go ahead and toggle it back on. What it does is it just creates a little bit more space in between each character, which can improve character recognition and reading comprehension. No matter what font the original text is in, whether it's in OneNote or Word or any other program that supports Immersive Reader, you always have 3 different fonts that the user can choose from: Calibri, Sitka, and Comic Sans. Microsoft Education's done a lot of work with different associations that work with students and learners that might be learning with something like dyslexia, and have found that these font types, these sans serif fonts, improve reading comprehension and reading accuracy and can help with character recognition. So regardless of whatever font the original text is presented in, you'll always have these 3 fonts available. And I like keeping this in mind too, because when I'm writing emails, creating documents, I try to make things as inclusive as possible. So I always try to use Calibri or Sitka whenever I'm sharing stuff out with people, either within Microsoft or even outside when I work with students and educators. Down below, we've also got several different colored themes. So by default, we just have our standard white background, but we've got a high contrast dark theme available. We've got a sepia color tone, and then we've got about 18 different pastel colors. Studies have shown that a pastel color can kind of help ease the mind and increase concentration and focus, and can also improve reading fluency as well. You'll notice that as I jumped into the notebook, some of these features were already toggled on. One of my favorite features about OneNote and OneNote Class Notebook is that it remembers the user's preferences. So if, say, I am a student that benefits from having this text at 48-point font, and I like having the increased spacing, and I'd like to have everything read to me in Sitka with this green background, it'll remember that every subsequent time I go to use Immersive Reader. I don't have to alter all these options every single time I open up a page. Moving back up to the top right here, there's an icon here. It's got 4 lines and a little wand icon there, and those are our grammar options. One option that we can toggle is the ability to separate words syllabically. So I'll toggle that on, and for every multiple syllable word, there's a dot in between each syllable, so that might help break down a word to help with pronunciation, or can make it a bit easier for users to focus and understand on the word that's presented on screen. We've also got these parts of speech So these are color-coded parts of speech. I can toggle as many or as few as I'd like to have on at once. And if I have the show labels feature toggled on, you'll see we get a brief initial giving us a color-coded indication of whether this is a noun, a verb, an adverb, or an adjective. And I also can choose the color coding based on my personal preferences. Certainly if you're using one of those pastel color backgrounds, some of these colors might be really difficult to read if it's a similar colored background. So with any of these parts of speech, I can click this box and I have 12 different colors that I can pick from. So based on personal preference, I can configure this to suit my learning needs. I'll come back up to the top right. We've also got this book icon. That's going to be reading preferences. And we've got a few different options here to help decode the text as well. The first is going to be line focus. So I'm going to toggle that on and collapse the pane briefly here. What this is a tool that helps further eliminate distractions and allows students to look at text in smaller digestible chunks. So I can use the arrows here on the right side of my screen to go through and read this one line at a time. And this works in conjunction with our narrator as well.
Valleys, plains, and plateaus are also landforms.
Coming back up to reading preferences, let's say I start to build confidence and I'd like to see if maybe I can tackle maybe 3 lines at a time. I can expand line focus to showcase 3 lines at once. And depending on the size of your text, you even have the option to show 5 lines of text. I have the larger font on right now, so that's grayed out. But if I reduce the size of the font here, you'll see that the 5 lines of text is available as well. I'm going to go ahead and disable line focus just so it's a little bit easier to see the rest of the features. We've also got a picture dictionary, which I really like. I'll go ahead and click on one of the words here. And you'll see it's not going to work for absolutely every single word in a document, but there are thousands of words that are supported by Picture Dictionary. And what it does is provides the user with some kind of image or diagram that allows them to associate a definition with that word. And if I had a word that might have multiple potential meanings, like say the word school, I might see an image of a classroom as well as an image of a group of fish. So if there are synonyms, the user will be presented with all those different options. When we use the picture dictionary, we can also hear the audio cue for that particular word.
Seasons.
So we can hear that pronunciation and use that as an assistive tool. I'll come back up to reading preferences to also showcase the translate tool. Now, as I clicked through some of those words, you kind of already saw it in action. I have over 60 different languages available here that we can use to help with people that might be learning English and building confidence there, or maybe speak another language at home that they're more comfortable with. Over 60 different languages. I'll go ahead and maybe keep it with Spanish and click on these words so we can not only see the English word and the pronunciation, but I can see the translated word
Tierra,
as well as the pronunciation for that translation. Not all of the 60 plus languages have the audio available, but the overwhelming majority of them do. And Microsoft's continuing to build out support so that we can have the narrator available in all these different languages. Let's say I don't want to just break it down one word at a time, but I'd prefer to actually have the entire passage translated. That's available as well. I can just toggle this document toggle here. And what it does is it takes that entire page, that entire passage, maybe it's a longer paper, and gives us the ability to read the entire thing in the translated language in Immersive Reader. And I know it's a bit difficult to see here, but I can bounce between the original English text or whatever language the original text was presented in, and then I can toggle to the translated text as well. And you'll notice that all the other features that I showcased, the color-coded parts of speech, syllabic separation, the character spacing, are all still carried over with that translated tool. There's a handful of languages that might not support every single one of these features, but with a lot of the languages, all of these features will still apply, including the narrator.
El estudio de las formas terrestres de la Tierra se llama geografía física.
So really great tool. Love being able to use that. And the thing that I find really valuable about it is that it's available in just about every single thing that we have within Microsoft. And I use the example of OneNote and OneNote Class Notebook as an example because if students are using that, I know sometimes maybe because they're shy, they may not want to ask for additional assistance, or they're worried about any kind of stigma that's associated with using these assistive tools. This is available at their own fingertips, and it is done outside of the viewpoint of any of their peers. So if they are feeling any kind of shyness or hesitancy to use these tools, they can access them in their own student notebook or through their own OneNote without the educator having to do any additional preparation, and they can customize it to their own needs to toggle on as many or as few of these features as they'd like. Once they're done utilizing the immersive reader, they can just click the back button in the top left corner, and it'll return them to the conventional OneNote view. We've got Immersive Reader available in quite a few different programs, so I'll briefly showcase some of the other ones we have available. If a student is using Microsoft Edge, which is available to, it should be available for Chromebooks. I'll go ahead and use, say, a website, for example. Microsoft Edge is a web browser based on Chrome, so it should be compatible with the Chromebooks. But if I go to most websites, up here in the URL bar where my mouse is at the top, I've got a couple buttons to the right of where the URL is. I have the read aloud feature. That's the A with the 2 semicircles. That gives us access to the narrative voice.
Geography. Print.
So I can go ahead and click through the web page and have that voice read aloud to me. And I've got the voice options available here on the right side, so I can still adjust the speed of the voice. But I also have the immersive reader available right here. That's the book icon with the speaker coming off of it. If I click that, it takes our website and eliminates any of the UI or any of the navigation, the pop-up ads, anything that might serve as a distraction, and allows the user to just focus on the text at hand. And I have all those same options available to me, even if the buttons themselves look a little bit different. Our narrator's available in the read aloud section.
Geography.
And I still have the voice options to choose from a variety of different voices. We have several different translations and region-specific translations available there. I've also got the text preferences where I can increase the spacing and the text size. I could choose between those 3 fonts. I can even choose the column width if maybe I prefer to have fewer words on the screen to make it more digestible. Grammar tools still allows us to color code those parts of speech and create that syllabic separation. And reading preferences still gives us the opportunity to utilize line focus, the picture dictionary, or to translate this entire page in those over 60 different languages that we have available. And then I can just click the immersive reader button up here at the top of our URL to return back to the standard web page view if I'd like to. I also have the ability to use Immersive Reader in something like Microsoft Word. So if I come over here to Microsoft Word, over in the View tab, we've got Immersive Reader available right here in the ribbon. And that'll give you a more clear-cut view of those buttons that I was having difficulty showing in Teams. We've got the text preferences, grammar tools, and reading preferences available there. We can just click the back arrow there on the left side to return to our standard Word view there as well. So for most Microsoft programs that offer Immersive Reader, if you go to the View tab, Immersive Reader should be available there towards the left-hand side of your ribbon. Another thing I want to showcase here, I kind of already have it open. It's called Microsoft Editor. So we'll use this Immersive Reader document. Editor is available in the Review tab. It's available in Outlook as well, but it's going to be more commonly used in Word, and it's going to be available there on the left-hand side. If I click the Editor button, it opens up a blade on the right side that shows us some of the categories that this next level spell check uses to assess the writing and to kind of bring out the most clear and best writing voice for the student that might be using this. We get a score from 0 to 100. The higher the score, the fewer errors that are pointed out. And I have the ability to choose between 3 different categories: formal, professional, and casual. I'll click on casual and you'll see that because there are fewer criteria under the casual writing category, the editor score pops up. If I go back to formal, that editor score is going to drop a bit because there are some additional criteria available in the refinement section that are being flagged as suggested improvements or errors. Certainly in the corrections section, we hopefully are familiar with the way that the spell check works. I can click on these individual categories and it will highlight the words that are spelled incorrectly and suggest proper spellings. If there's a word that is close, a misspelled word that's close to a few different potential options, it'll suggest multiple different options there. And then we've also got grammar. I don't have any grammar errors in this document, but if maybe a verb's not in the correct tense, or maybe the verb should be coming before the subject or the noun rather than after the noun, those kind of errors will be flagged in grammar. We've got additional features that are available here though. Acronyms will flag, especially in a formal writing, if we're using abbreviations or acronyms, formal writing might ask that we completely spell out the name of that organization or the name of that agreement, whatever the case may be that we're using that acronym for. We also have a clarity section. So what we do when we click on this, it will highlight in kind of a purple color areas of the text or the document that could use a little bit of refinement. So this one's suggesting that we replace the adverb, and it gives us a suggestion here. So it's not only providing a suggestion for the alteration we should make to the sentence, but gives a brief explanation as to why. And I can use the arrows here at the bottom to scroll through. So for both of these, it's just adverb placement, but there might be other things where maybe it's not clear that the verb is associated to the proper subject within the sentence. So if there's any kind of confusion there, that would be flagged in the clarity section. Conciseness, we'll take a look at things and suggest possible diction alternatives that we can use to maybe reduce the word count and improve the clarity of our sentences. So rather than an added bonus, we can go ahead and just reduce that to a bonus to, I know some students like to bolster that word count if there's maybe a requirement there for an assignment, but this helps refine our writing voice and makes our writing a bit more clear. There are some additional categories here. Formality is going to take a look at things and say, if I have the number 56 in a document, it's going to request that we spell out the words 56 rather than using the digits 5 and 6. Inclusiveness is going to take a look at the things like, rather than saying you guys, maybe saying you all, trying to use more inclusive language. Perspectives may want to make sure that you're consistently writing in the first person or the second person or the third person. Punctuation conventions, I can come over here. This is one I'm guilty of quite a bit. I'm still have a bad habit of putting 2 spaces at the end of every period, so it'll flag things like that. I am also prone to overusing a semicolon, so editor lets me know when I'm doing that a bit too often. We've also got some additional categories for sensitive geopolitical references or vocabulary. Let's say I'm overusing a word in the paper that I'm writing. Editor will make suggestions for synonyms that I could use to break up the monotony of the language that I'm using. Down here below, there's a similarity score here as well. Now, I don't have a source cited in this particular document, but what this does is it takes a look at any sources that are cited in maybe say something like a research paper. And if maybe there's a quote that's inserted, but there's no quotation marks around it, it's an attempt at paraphrasing that's a bit too close to the original source material, editor's going to flag that and make suggestions to either rephrase the paraphrase or at least attribute a quote directly to whatever source is being referenced within the document. So that's our editor. That's available in the review tab of Word Online, kind of that next level spell check. And I appreciate the fact that it goes a bit beyond the standard spelling and grammar options that we've seen in the past. The final thing I'd like to showcase briefly, I'll open up a new document here, is our dictate tool. Dictate's available in PowerPoint, online, Word Online, and Outlook. I'm going to demonstrate it in Word because it's also available in OneNote as well. So if students are using OneNote Class Notebook, it's going to be available. It's always available in the Home tab. I've got a microphone icon available right here. I'll go ahead and click that to show you how it works. This is an example of dictation in Microsoft Word, period. I have the ability to create entire documents with my voice, comma, without having to make any alterations or insert any punctuation with the keyboard, period. All right. Tripped me out a little bit there because it was taking a little long there. It does take a few seconds for it to kind of parse the entire sentence that you're using to make sure it's capitalizing any proper nouns or to make sure that it's capturing your entire dictation there. But I can toggle that on or off by clicking the microphone button here at any point in time. You may have noticed that I was also able to insert punctuation using my voice as well. I can come over here to the help button, that's the question mark. It opens up a blade on the right side that gives me a kind of catalog of all the different voice commands that are available. So I can create a bulleted list using my voice. I could insert mathematical symbols if maybe I'm using my voice to create a document, maybe for like a math assignment. I can go ahead and delete text or create a new paragraph, all using my voice. We have this blade over here on the right side that shows the user all the different commands that can be used to make those document changes. I also have this settings cog over here on the right side where I have the ability to choose my spoken language. We have roughly 15 languages fully supported and another 30 or so that are in preview. The preview languages are still going to be quite accurate, but we're continuing to use machine learning to improve the accuracy. And once Microsoft feels that it's at a sufficient level, they'll move those preview languages into the fully supported category. I also have the ability to enable auto punctuation. So if I don't want to vocalize any of the commas or the periods or the new lines, I can toggle this on, and Dictate does a very good job of inserting that punctuation for me. I personally like inserting it on my own, but it does a great job. We've made great strides with Windows and Microsoft 365 to try to improve the accuracy there and making sure that any kind of punctuation that needs to be inserted is done so intelligently. So thanks for taking a tour with me on all those tools. Those are all available using the web browser, whether you're on a Chromebook or any kind of a Windows or Apple computer. So I hope that's really helpful. I'll hang out to see if there's any questions in the Q&A, but thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Matt. Are there any resources you'll be sharing with me that I can send to our lovely attendees after the webinar today?
Absolutely. I think Joyce popped a few in the Q&A, and we'll pop a few more, and I can also send out an email to you so that we have some additional resources that we can share out.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll make sure to share those with you guys. In addition to the recording, I'll share the recording tomorrow, and I'll include any resources that Microsoft sends over. Let me go ahead and reshare my screen here. Next up, we are learning all about individually assigning and grading groups in Schoology, and that will be Angela Gama. Angela, are you ready to present? Angela, I don't know if I can hear you. You might have the wrong microphone selected.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Beautiful. All right, so I was just saying that I'm ready. Well, probably wasn't, but now I am. So let me go ahead and share my screen here. All right, So before I jump into my topic, which is the individually assigned and the grading groups in Schoology, since we just learned about the immersive reader from Matt here from Microsoft, I also wanted to share that the immersive reader is available in Schoology. We have it available in assignments, in our Schoology assessment questions. So it's really awesome that they integrated this really cool tool into Schoology for our students to use in the assignments. So it basically works the same way as within Microsoft, where they click on the immersive reader button there and they get all the distractions away, and they have all the cool tools that we just saw for them to use within Schoology items. So super exciting to see that here. All right. So let's go ahead and talk about individually assigned and grading groups in Schoology. And before I dive in, I do want to kind of talk a little bit about the ISTE Educator standard for the designer. It's kind of like mirroring our ISTE standard for students. And my topic here and what we are going to see here with student choice and voice is also aligning with the educator piece, where teachers design authentic, learner-driven activities and environments that recognize and accommodate learner variability, which is also immersive reader going to help a lot with, right? So teachers are going to use technology to create, adapt, and personalize learning experiences that foster independent learning and accommodate learner differences and needs. So based on this standard, I wanted to share how we can work in Schoology to use the individually assigned and grading groups to differentiate our lessons with our students. And first, we want to define what differentiation is, and it means that you need to tailor your instructions to meet the specific needs of individual learners. Now, with this in mind, we need to know how are we going to do this using our tech tools. You can do this by doing regular assessments, learning where your students are at, and we do this in different ways, and I'll share a little bit of that too. And then we can group our students. Once we have that assessment data, you think about how you want to group your students for either instruction, activities, assignments in the unit. You can group based on skill or based on interest. And once you know what those groups are, you can assign students different work that still meets the curricular goals of your unit, but is adequately challenging, giving your students different prior knowledge skill. You can use the pre-assessment data to decide what lessons should be given to the full group versus smaller pull-out groups. And you can also use the pre-assessment data to decide which students might need more support throughout the process, or which might look like giving those learners graphic organizers, more check-ins, just more resources in general. So let's look at like something that would look like an academic classroom. So these are 3 student examples from a writing pre-assessment. And as you can see, there's a great deal of difference between students A, B, and C when it comes to their writing readiness. So to give them the same lessons and the same assignments would be kind of foolish, don't you think? It's kind of, you're not gonna be challenging those that are a little bit further along than those that are not. So you can give some of the same lessons, but you can also have those common experiences as a class, but you can also pull a small group to address those skills that only about, let's say, 25% of the students still need instructional. So you will also vary the complexity of essay prompts for each group so that students have, a respectful task in front of them. So for those same 3 students, based upon the analysis of their pre-assessments, you can come into 3 different essay prompts. So for this unit here, there are 2 goals, as you can see, and all 3 prompts address these goals, even though some require additional research and more complexity of analysis. So the length of the essay was also varied to provide each group with a manageable but challenging task, but all students still wrote an argumentative essay that included body paragraphs, counter argument, rebuttal, introduction, and conclusion. So since we're, talking about differentiation, assigning different, assignments to these students, you may think, where does choice come in? Well, choice is something that we value a great deal because we want to increase our learner engagement and effort, whether you're teaching children or, older students. Sometimes in differentiation, learners have choice and sometimes they don't. But even when they do have choice, you can embed differentiation by giving students guided choice based on their readiness for a specific topic. So let's see how this is going to look like in a classroom. So here's an example of how you can provide choice and differentiation, showing that you can have a happy marriage with these two. And you can see here the different book options, and you can assign each one of these books a corresponding grade level equivalent. And then you can provide students with a choice. Let's say you can do it through a Google form or a quiz asking them, okay, based on the score or the difficulty level, you can select within a specific range. So if you're level 8, you can read anything between level 7 and 9. So that's where they can provide their answers and choose, which book they rather read. And now, based on these projects, based on the assignments, you can go ahead and create grading groups in Schoology once you know all that data, all that pre-assessment data. So the grading groups enables teachers to sort your students into group within a single course section. And graded materials can be assigned to these groups that you can create. When you assign something to a grading group, the entire item is only available to those students in the group. And the gradebook will only reflect scores for students who received the assignment. So you're not spending a whole lot of time having to exclude students from receiving a grade for specific assignments that they're not supposed to complete. So that's going to be awesome when you're assigning these assignments to only those specific grading groups. Now, here is where we come into creating our grading groups in Schoology. Once you're in the course, you go to the left-hand side menu and you find your members. Now, once you hit on that members tab, you're going to see on the right-hand side of that page the organized members into grading groups. And when you mouse over that specific item, you will see it convert into this. It's going to say add grading group. So you can select this add grading group option, and then you can create your groups. You can name them and group your students according to goals or to projects. Let me just go ahead and jump into my Schoology and show you here quickly how you can create that members grading groups. So here I'm going to go into organize members into grading groups. You're going to click add grading group. You're going to name your grading group. So let's say, I don't know, blue team, however you want to name your groups. Here in this search field, you can search by student ID number or just by typing their name to quickly see them and select them. So you can go ahead and click through the students that you like to include in that grading group and then go ahead and create that grading group. You will see under each individual student the grading group that they belong to. And on the right-hand side of this same members page, you will see all the different grading groups that you created, and you can go back and edit the group if you wish to do so. So super easy, super quick to create these. I know some of you may be wondering, hey, can I just copy and paste the list of student ID numbers or import a list? And unfortunately, Schoology at this moment does not support that feature. You need to go in and select one by one which students you want to include in that grading group. Now, we take a look at how you individually assign items to these grading groups or to individual students. So I know I showed you just a moment ago how we can create grading groups, but if you still want to use the individually assign feature, you don't necessarily need to use grading groups. You can assign specific resources or assignments if you're doing, you're adding scaffolding to those students that need it. You don't need to have them in a grading group. So in each item that you create in Schoology, you will see under the options category these 3 dots that if you mouse over them, you will see that it says individually assign. So once you click on those 3 dots, you will be able to start typing the name of the student or the name of the grading group in the field to assign that specific assignment to that grading group or that individual student. So here's an example of what it looks like once you start typing a few characters, all the matches, you can go ahead and select that from the list. Now, students that are assigned to these items, they will only see those that are assigned to them. So that also is going to clean the materials list so that they only see those that pertain to them. And that's going to be seamless, and it's not going to kind of make them feel, bad because they're receiving a little bit more support. It's going to be seamless. It's going to be like they're accessing the same assignment as their peers. So there's not that issue in your class as well. Now, when you're doing your grading groups or individually assigned, it's going to look a lot like this if you're going to do this with multiple assignments instead of having it look like this. So I mentioned that once you've assigned something to an individual or a grading group, it kind of blocks the grading field for those students that is not assigned to, so you don't inadvertently assign a grade of something when it's not assigned to that student. All right, and before I wrap up with my topic, I also want to share that if you like to individually assign items for, projects for if you have students with special needs and have IEPs that require additional resources or anything like that, you don't have to individually assign each item that you need to add to them, that you need to make available to that student or group. You can also individually assign entire folders so that everything that lives in the folder automatically gets assigned to that grading group or that individual or that group of students. So when you create the folder, it may be like you can't individually assign because I don't see that little, those 3 little dots here. But once you create the folder, you go to the gear icon, you go to edit, or even you can see it here in this menu, but actually it's in this menu here. You can go ahead and select individually assign, and then you can select the students that you like to have this folder available or assign it to, or the grading groups here. So you can go through the process of assigning that folder for that grading group, those students, and then anything you put in that folder will inherit that individually assigned rule that you set in the folder level. So that's going to save you a lot of time if you want multiple assignments or discussions and you want to have them separated for projects.
Angela, your
or
mic cut out.
something. Oh,
Not sure what happened, but we were hearing you just fine, and then all of a sudden it went completely out.
Let me try this one. No? Is it working now?
No, can't hear you.
I
can hear you, Angela.
Oh, you
If it
can?
doesn't come back soon, I'll just yeah, I still can't hear you.
I heard you the whole time. You didn't go out. Yeah.
Okay, so it must be Alexandra's.
I'll go check.
Yeah.
Oh, it looks like.
Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
I'll go ahead and just switch over to Matthew at this time. For some reason, I can't hear you, Angela. Doesn't sound like you're coming through at all. Oh, okay. It looks like the issue's on my end. So Angela, go ahead and keep going, and we'll turn over to Matthew in just a sec. But it looks like it's on my end.
Well, I was about to finish. I think I was done with my part. I'm happy that it wasn't, everyone who was unable to hear me. But now I'm going to hand it over to Matthew, I guess, who can hear me. Not sure if Alexandra can hear me still.
Thank you, Angela.
Sure.
Let me share my screen. All right, we're ready to rock and roll. Well, good afternoon, everybody. We're almost here to the tail end of our how did they do that live, and talking about the ISTE standard for designer. And what a better way to showcase designer than digital student choice activities. So I'm really happy to announce we have a new PD opportunity in the PD catalog. It's Monday, November 28th. So it's Cyber Monday. We have a great deal on digital student choice activities. Join the PD, and it's jam-packed with free templates. Cyber Monday, you're going to get free templates for hyperdocs, choice boards that you can use with students. They are organized by subject area and grade levels. So what better way to spend your Cyber Monday than with us? We're receiving that PD incentive and joining us for digital student choice activities. Your presenter on that day is our one and only Brandon Chisholm, is our digital curriculum coordinator that will be doing the presentation. And it's a really exciting PD, and it's a new opportunity, so it will count for your PD incentive. So it's another new opportunity that you can get some hours in before the end of November. So there's 2 different time frames. By the end of November, you have that opportunity to get your hours in, up to 6 hours for 0.5, 12 hours for 1%. And then if you're not able to do it by November, then you can still work on earning your hours towards the end of June next year. But I want to encourage you all to sign up. Again, Cyber Monday, jam-packed with free, did I say free, Angela?
That was sure mentioned.
That is free templates that you can just, run with. Again, they're grade level, subject area, organized for hyperdocs and choice boards. Thank you.
Sweet. Now, let me go ahead and share back here. Seems like Alex is having some issues still with her mic. But let me go ahead and wrap our session here for today. So before we wrap up, just wanted to share some of the exciting upcoming PD that we have. So we have a Nearpod to the Next Level on November 16 and Learning and Creating on November 17. And these sessions are presented by Nearpod. So you'll be hearing directly from our vendor on these 2 sessions. Super excited. And then we also have StudyMate on November 21st. This is an amazing tool that a lot of teachers may not know about. This is a tool that is available for students and teachers to help them study with the use of flashcards. So we'll hear from our digital curriculum, Brandon Chisholm, that day on StudyMate. We'll have our Hour of Code on November 23rd and December 14th. And as Matthew just mentioned, we got our choice boards and HyperDocs on our Cyber Monday, November 28th. All sessions start at 3:45, so don't forget to sign up in our PD catalog. Don't miss out on these amazing sessions, and they all count for the 0.5, so get those hours in before the end of this first semester. All right, so just wanted to thank all of you for being here today, learning about all the amazing tools that we have for student choice and voice, immersive reader, individually assigned, performance matters, and some of the exciting PD that we have going on this month.